Hey, it's Patrick of Casale Coaching and Consulting. I wanted to come to you today and talk a little bit about the importance of HIPAA compliant technology, the importance of HIPAA compliant apps and software when you're starting a private practice. I see a lot of therapists who are using Yahoo email addresses, Hotmails, even AOL email addresses, and then just normal Gmail addresses when communicating with clients. And a question that comes up a lot is that sufficient? The answer, pretty frankly, is just no, it's not. You need to be taking some precautionary measures in order to protect client confidentiality and protected health information. A simple disclosure in your informed consent that states that, email conversations can't be guaranteed to be confidential is really not enough. What I would recommend doing is either getting Hushmail, which is a HIPAA compliant and encrypted email service, which is $9.99 a month. Proton Mail, I think that is $8.99 a month. You can get G Suite as well through Google. You have to sign a BAA or Business Associates Agreement, and you have to have that in place. The issue with that is that if you are emailing people outside of the Google domain realm, it's no longer HIPAA compliant for yourself. So something to be mindful of. But let's talk about why this is so important. For $9 a month, you're protecting not only your client, but you're protecting yourself. If there's a breach of information on your email account, if that information gets into the wrong hands, if you send the email to the wrong person, that person's confidential information is just out on the internet now, and it's accessible for other people to see. You have to be doing your duty as a private practice professional to really ensure that you are protecting client confidentiality and health information. It's just something that we need to take really seriously. And I know a lot of people's eyes glaze over when I start talking about this stuff, but honestly, you would much rather pay $9 now than get a HIPAA compliant breach or protected health information breach and get fined down the road. That's something you do not want to deal with, because that is thousands of dollars in fines. So let's also talk about HIPAA compliant apps that can make your life easier. I use Spruce Health, which is $24 a month, and that is HIPAA compliant fax, phone, text, and you can even do telehealth on there in a HIPAA compliant fashion. Their customer service is really fantastic. I highly recommend them. You can use code Casale with my last name to get a free month to try it out. But the importance of having a HIPAA compliant phone number is, again, you're protecting client information. So if your client texts you, if your client calls you, that information is encrypted, it's stored, it's saved. There's no accessibility, because what you'll see is when you're going on Facebook, when you're going on Instagram, a lot of the time your Facebook and Instagram and other social media accounts are syncing with your phone. Essentially what that's doing is it's pulling up all of your contacts and then bringing them into your Facebook arena, your Instagram arena, or other social media platforms where this data is exchanged and sold. And that means your client's information is vulnerable. It means that you have to be trying really hard to protect your client's information at all costs. Obviously, if a client texts your personal number, you have to let them know. You cannot guarantee confidentiality with text messages, emails, etc. But we want to be the professional here. We want to be saying, yeah, this isn't going to be protected, but here is a way that it can be. We're going to offer you a HIPAA compliant phone number to text with, or to call, or to email, etc. And to fax, because faxing, although it is archaic and a bit outdated, you can e-fax now. And e-faxing is another way where client information can get lost and unfortunately breached, and then it is more susceptible and vulnerable to targeted attack. So Spruce Health is great. I know some people that use Google Voice again, but get the BAA, the Business Associate Agreement. I know people that use iPlum, iPhone, etc. But you need to really make sure that they have a Business Associates Agreement for HIPAA compliancy, because there needs to be some regulation and some type of mandate in how they protect that client's information. It's just really important. And let's think about that. Hushmail, which I use for email, $9.99 a month. Spruce Health, which I use for phone, fax, text, and telehealth, $24 a month. $35 a month, I have now covered my ass. $35 a month, I have now ensured that my client's protected health information is protected. So For those of you who are like, it's not that big of a deal, my clients don't really care, one client is going to care. And if that information is out there in the wrong way or in the wrong hands and you didn't do what you could do to protect it, then you are liable and you will get sued for that. That's not something you want to have to handle or deal with. You don't want to have your license at stake for something that you could have easily prevented. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to really talk about the importance of this because a lot of people don't understand that. Let's now talk about HIPAA compliant telehealth platforms. Doxy.me was very popular when COVID first started. It's a free telehealth platform. It works pretty well. I mean, the service can lag a bit just because it can be overused. But if you're going to use Doxy.me and their free version, please make sure to get a BAA or a business associates agreement once again, just to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your clientele. All of the EMRs or electronic medical records like Simple Practice, Therapy App, Therapy Notes, etc., all have HIPAA compliant telehealth platforms. So you just want to be really cautious about using those. Those are fine for the most part. You just want to ensure that your client knows what they're using. FaceTime is not HIPAA compliant. Zoom, the regular version of Zoom, is not HIPAA compliant. There is a medical version of Zoom which costs quite a bit more. I think it's about $200 a month. I know that there was some confusion at first with COVID, and there were some laws that were put into place about, hey, you can use FaceTime, hey, you can use Skype, hey, you can use Zoom because we want accessibility. Those laws were really geared towards medical professionals who were dealing with clients who were experiencing COVID-related symptoms. There was some carryover into mental health professionals, but that is not something that is continued. That's not something that you can continue to do in a safe manner. So please be cautious about that. You're really putting yourself in a lot of risk in your clients' well-being as well when you're using regular versions of Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, etc. It's just not a safe way to communicate, and that information can be breached and stolen pretty easily. There was a massive Zoom breach, I think it was March or April, right as COVID was starting. Millions of people's data was exposed. So you really want to be thinking about this and safeguarding yourself. So having a good HIPAA compliant telehealth platform is really important. And it's going to be something that's going to protect not only yourself, but it's going to protect your clients as well. You also want to be using HIPAA compliant payment processing apps. So I know a lot of people ask, can I use Venmo? Can I use PayPal? The answer is no. Those are not related for business. You're not supposed to be using those things as a medical professional or mental health professional. That's because the client's information is just readily accessible, showing what they were charged for, showing that they were charged, exposing their first and last name. Those are things that are just no-goes. I know they're easy, and a lot of clients will ask you. What I would recommend is maybe using IVPay. IVPay is a HIPAA-compliant payment processing app for therapists designed specifically for mental health professionals. You sign a BAA, you get that in your email. You can encrypt it. It has a password, so there's layers of protection, and you can text that link to the client through an app. They put their credit card information in on their end. It encrypts it. It sends it back to you. It stores it. You never have access to it other than to charge it. Then when you charge it, the client gets a text message saying that their card has been charged and for how much. That's my favorite processing app. I think the rates are like 2.75, which is really low. Other people use Stripe through their electronic medical records. I know Simple Practice integrates with Stripe. I think those things are fine. I just prefer IVPay because you have more control over the payment and you have more control over, sending out the charge, and it's pretty easy through a text message. Please don't use PayPal. Please don't use Venmo. Square is questionable because they do operate for a lot of medical practices, and you can get a BAA with them. So get a BAA to ensure that you are, protecting, once again, client information, and that you're doing a business associate agreement with a company and making sure that they know that this information needs to be in a HIPAA compliant way. Please just don't put yourself at risk. This stuff is too easy to protect, to allow for you to put your license, your name, your standing, your reputation at jeopardy. It's just not worth it, especially when all the things that we just listed can be purchased for under $100 a month. So we're going to run through that again real quickly. We want a HIPAA compliant email address, whether that be Hushmail, Proton Mail, G Suite with a BAA. G Suite's about $12, Hushmail $9.99, Proton Mail is like $8.99. I know Hushmail, you can actually create forms and electronic signature forms and send those in a HIPAA compliant encrypted way. I like that, especially for those of you who are like, hey, I don't have the money to pay for an electronic medical record system right now. You could create a simple little intake form, a disclosure, informed consent, telehealth waiver, etc. through Hushmail, put some signature spots on there and send it in a HIPAA compliant way. That way you don't have to pay for an electronic medical record right off the bat. Again, email addresses like Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, just don't use them. It's just not appropriate and it's not a safe thing to do. HIPAA compliant payment processing apps, IV Pay, and then whatever is integrated through your EMR, your electronic medical record system, but not PayPal, not Venmo. Definitely not either of those two. Please don't do it. I know plenty of therapists who do. And then electronic medical records. I like Therapy app. They're really fantastic. I find them to be the most secure version of any electronic medical record system. They have a HIPAA compliant payment processing app. Their peer-to-peer video is the most secure form of video that you can have available on telehealth. So I really recommend Therapy app. Their website is therapyaphome.com. Then there's Simple Practice, Therapy Notes, Therapy Appointment. There's a lot, but all of those things will help protect you when you're doing telehealth. If you're going to use Doxy.me, the free version, please make sure to get a BA8 or Business Associates Agreement. And then for like Zoom, stuff like that, again, not the normal free version of Zoom. You have to get the medical version of Zoom, which does cost $200 a month, but it allows 10 licenses, so you could go into it with some friends and it can be a lot cheaper. Please don't use FaceTime. Please don't use Skype. Please don't use the normal version of Zoom. I just want you to protect yourselves because you've worked really hard to get to where you're at and to create a business for yourselves, and you don't want that to come crumbling down because of something that could have been avoided. So hope this was helpful. I'll be giving out more of these videos and tips, and I hope to, talk more about private practice building in the future. Have a great day.